Y es que te quiero escapar.
You knew this would happen?
Everything changed.
Este es William Mann, de Missouri.
Era la joya de nuestro imperio.
¡Pueblo de Pompeya! ¡Que comiencen los juegos!
I think one of the key things for most historians and for us was the letters of Pliny the Younger, who actually witnessed the explosion and recorded it all. And he wrote a series of letters describing it over the couple of years after the eruption. And those letters are very, very descriptive. They detail the falling ash. They detail the fire. They detail the Bay of Naples with the water draining, which is where we of course get our tsunami and tidal wave from. So he provided quite an accurate description of what the disaster was in fairly broad terms. And in fact, he was so descriptive that for a long time, no one really took him seriously. They thought he kind of made a lot of this stuff up because no one believed that a disaster of this kind could actually happen.
Un centro de corrupción.
¡Matadlos!
De tentación.
Ese esclavo te mira como si estuviera soñando.
I was a huge fan of Kit from Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is something that my wife and I became obsessed with. And we came to it late, actually. The first 2 seasons had already run. And we got it on iTunes and just watched all of the episodes back to back, I think, in 2 days. And it's a terrific show, and it's got a terrific cast. But for me, there was one person who I felt really popped, and that was Kit. And I felt this guy looks like a movie star. He really stood out from the ensemble. And I met him, and I continued to be very impressed by him. And he wasn't the gladiator that we needed, but he assured me that he would get there, and he became very disciplined and very focused on kind of getting that gladiatorial physique, which is what you see in the movie.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Miro.
Por la supervivencia.
Mañana lucharemos. Los esclavos que quedan con vida obtienen la libertad.
I think we're making a disaster movie, and if you're to believe the disaster and to believe that people are really in jeopardy and that this destruction is really happening, it has to be realistic. There were 2 ways we could have gone about making this movie. There was the kind of like the way we did it, which was we built big sets and we shot on them for real, and we had ash falling and we had real flame, we had people on fire running around. Obviously there's computer-generated images in the film, but we tried to give everything a basis in reality, and even the physics of the computer-generated stuff is real. It's not kind of cartoony. It's like when a rock falls, it falls at the right speed, it falls at the right velocity. It really looks like a rock, and if it hits someone on the head, they react the way they would do if they really got hit by a rock. There's nothing kind of cartoony about it. There's no wire work in the movie. There's no overly elaborate stunt work. It's all real. And I think that gives you an investment in the movie and in the characters that you wouldn't have if you didn't believe it. Because obviously the other way to make the movie is kind of just to shoot everything against a green screen and go for a kind of 300 style film. But for me, that's a spectacle, but that's a very kind of comic book spectacle, and it's not what we were trying to do.
¿Qué es eso?
Es la montaña.
Pero a pesar de nuestra fuerza,
¿Lo notas?
vivíamos a la sombra de un poder mucho mayor.
It's definitely, you have to build a lot more, but I think that's good for 2 things. A lot of the shots in the movie are totally real. On a movie of this scale, I think you would normally most people would imagine it has about 2,000 visual effects shots in it. We only have 500 visual effects shots in the movie. And one of the reasons for that is we could shoot a lot of the movie practically on set, for real. And that's why it was so unpleasant for the actors, because quite often we'd have a whole street and it would be filled with flame and explosions and ash falling. And it was, would it have been easier for the actors just to kind of run around in front of a green screen with nothing? Yes, of course it would. But would you have really got those performances? I don't think so.
Es que te quiero escapar.
You knew this would happen?
Everything changed.
Es William Mann, de Missouri.